Tonight on NewsVision. The 2022 midterm elections are just a few days away, and there are some big races in Florida this year. We'll tell you what the candidates and the polls are saying.
They're coming after your right to vote and who get to count the vote.
Plus, it's homecoming week at UM, and campus has been busy. We'll bring you up to date on all the festivities on campus this week. And later on, one yoga studio is offering customers a chance to do exercise with some loud, furry friends.
All the different people who want to come out and just kind of seeing how they do the yoga flow with interacting with the goats.
All these stories and a whole lot more on tonight's show. NewsVision starts right now.
Good evening and welcome to NewsVision. I'm Regina Potenza.
And I'm Daryl Barnes. Thank you for joining us tonight. President Joe Biden traveled to Florida Memorial University yesterday to campaign for Florida Democrats ahead of midterms on Tuesday. His first stop was in Hollandale Beach at O.B. Johnson Park, where the 46th President of the United States then headed to Miami Gardens, where Democratic gubernatorial candidate Charlie Crist and Senate candidate Val Demings spoke to crowds. Biden spoke on voting rights and Republicans' election acceptance.
They're coming after your right to vote and who get to count the vote. No, for real. You got 350 so election deniers on the ballot.
University of Miami Democrats were invited to attend the event, and one attendee was excited to attend, but felt like President Biden did not address Florida voters' concerns.
I wouldn't say that people's minds were really changed. Maybe it's, it showed that Biden is pretty old. I mean, seeing these younger candidates, I was like, wow, they really know how to get a crowd going, and he doesn't really as much. Mm-hmm.
Students sat behind President Biden during the event and will be canvassing for Democratic candidates around campus on Sunday.
This election season, Florida voters get to decide whether to approve two property tax provisions. This election season, Florida residents will vote on 3 amendments to the Florida Constitution. If passed, one of these amendments will provide government employees with up to $50,000 in property tax exemptions. This includes firefighters, EMTs, paramedics, and teachers.
Those professionals service the community every day of their lives, and they get very little in return. So I think that's a good starting point in how we can kind of pay them back for their service.
While public school teachers and other civil servants will benefit from the potential tax exemption, private school teachers will not qualify for the benefits.
I think it should be extended to private school teachers. Just because they work in a private school doesn't mean that they're exempt from any of the issues of their surrounding communities or the communities that they service.
If passed, the amendment is predicted to save Florida government employees more than $80 million within the next year. Florida Realtors is the largest professional trade association in Florida, made up of over 225,000 Florida real estate agents. The organization gave us a statement expressing their support for the amendment. The statement reads, "It will help reduce the costs of owning a home for many frontline workers, teachers, and active duty military personnel throughout Florida. If 60% of Florida voters approve this amendment, the tax exemption will take place starting in January 2023.
I think that's a really good thing. Those are very important people for our society, so I think they should be rewarded.
The amendment is predicted to pass on Tuesday, with many Florida residents already expressing support for the exemption. Florida is one of 9 states where residents do not have to pay income tax. The amendments to the Florida Constitution would therefore only affect property taxes.
And Election Day is just 5 days away, and Floridians are gearing up to cast their vote. Here in Miami-Dade County, over 230,000 residents have already voted. Our lead reporter, Sophia Vitello, is live at an early voting location in Coral Gables with more. Sophia, what's the latest?
Daryl, early voting started on October 24th, and now there is just 3 days left. I'm standing in front of one of the early voting locations. This is Coral Gables War Memorial Youth Center. People have been coming in and out all the way since 7 a.m. until just a few minutes ago at 7 p.m. to cast their ballots. Now, there are many different candidates for different races, but the major races that we are paying close attention to are for Florida governor and senator. Now, in these races, we are seeing Governor Ron DeSantis seeking a second term and Senator Marco Rubio seeking a third 6-year term. But we are also paying close attention to a race that hits a little bit closer to home, and that one is for Florida's Congressional District 27. In that race, we are seeing Republican Representative Maria Elvira Salazar face off against Democrat Annette Taddeo. Now, looking to the polls, this was updated as of yesterday on 538 polls. 52.6% of voters chose Ron DeSantis for governor, and 42.9% selected Charlie Crist, giving DeSantis a 9.6% lead. And in the race for senator, 51% of voters favored Senator Marco Rubio, with 43.9% of voters selecting Val Demings. That means Senator Rubio has a 7.1% lead. We spoke with the Miami-Dade supervisor of elections on why it is important to vote.
Well, voting is the way that your voice is going to be heard, and we should all want our elected officials to represent our positions, our views, our ideas for policy, right? Whatever they may be. And the only way to make sure that that happens is by you doing the research on the candidates, knowing what they stand for, and actually coming out to vote.
Now, it appears the GOP has a steady lead in the race, with Representative Salazar holding a 6% lead over Taddeo in District 27's race. Now, early voting ends on the 6th, but Election Day is November 8th, so voters can cast their ballots then. For more information on how and where to vote, visit miamidade.gov. In Coral Gables, Sophia Vitello, UMTV.
Thanks, Sophia. On campus, it's also Republicans versus Democrats. The UM debate team held a discussion last Thursday between two clubs to get their perspective on several political issues. The two clubs, College Republicans and UM Democrats, faced off last Thursday for a debate on special topics. Topics included immigration, climate change, and the Electoral College. Two representatives from each organization debated back and forth in front of audience members.
Or we set up motions for professional debates. We honestly do not do Roe v. Wade. We do not do abortion, because a lot of the times we do agree. We like to come up with things that we can divide on regardless of what political stature we are.
The UM debate team and Get Out the Vote had signs encouraging attendees to vote, and even provided free rides to the polls with lift code CANESVOTE22. And here on UMTV, we will be covering the midterm elections live on Tuesday. Make sure to join us right here on November 8th for a half-hour UMTV election special live at 8 p.m.
New intel about Russian military leaders has left U.S. officials concerned that Moscow might use nuclear weapons in the war with Ukraine. An assessment from the National Intelligence Council suggests Russia's military leaders have discussed under what conditions would they use nuclear weapons in Ukraine. The information leaves the U.S. divided. Some believe the analysis is taken out of context, while others are more concerned. In a statement, Russia said it would only use nuclear weapons in response to an attack threatening the existence of its country.
It might not be just a demonstration strike in the ocean or something like this, but they might actually be used to achieve a battlefield impact.
The intelligence does not suggest Russian President Vladimir Putin has been a part of these discussions, assuming he would approve any nuclear weapons used.
TickTock is under threat again. The FCC commissioner says U.S. government should ban the social media app because of concerns of how its Chinese parent company ByteData handles data. There are fears the Chinese government could attempt to access the information TickTock has on U.S. citizens who use the app. The Committee on Foreign Investments in the U.S. has spent months negotiating a national security agreement to allow TickTock to continue operating in the U.S. But FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr says he worries the company will find a way around the deal. TickTock has not commented on Carr's statements.
One museum in downtown Miami has taken a big step to connect the city's diversity and culture. Reporter Billy Brightman had a chance to talk with the museum's brand new leader, who has spent time at UM.
The city of Miami has ties to cultures from all over the world, and the History Miami Museum brings them all to one place. The Smithsonian-affiliated museum located in downtown Miami has a collection of more than 37,000 artifacts to tell the story of the history and future of the city.
It's nice to see artifacts of a bunch of different cultures and just think about the people that might have touched them and created them.
The museum's roots date back more than 80 years, but now, for the first time in its history, its leader is a woman. Meet Natalia Cruz, the first female CEO of the History Miami Museum.
It's really a privilege for me, but it's also an opportunity to help amplify stories of Miami, to build community.
Natalia was born in Mexico, but moved to Miami to study journalism. There were some language barriers, but once she found her place, she discovered the city was more than welcoming.
This city and this community really embraced me and gave me wonderful opportunities to grow and prosper.
After getting her degree from the University of Miami and working in various communications and executive positions, Natalia answered the call to join the History Miami team.
Anytime you can have more diversity and more inclusiveness, especially about history, I think that's very important, and it's a good next step.
Natalia knows she is the first woman to hold the position, but that was not all she was proud of.
It's important, I think, to me personally, not only that I'm the first woman, but that I'm a Latina and that I'm immigrant. And so this exhibition that we're opening now really resonated with me, talking about Black citizenship and the idea of what citizenship means.
Her first day was on October 3rd, and she hopes that people leave the museum with a reminder that...
And hopefully realize that there's more things that unite us than those that separate us.
To learn more about all that History Miami has to offer, visit historymiami.org. Reporting for UMTV, I'm Billy Brightman.
Almost 5 years after the school shooting in Parkland, Florida, the killer has received his sentence. We will have details when NewsVision returns.
Observe a domesticated human family in their natural habitat, known to their species as the backyard.
Hey, you think I should light it now?
I think it's good.
Yeah?
Oh dear, someone is about to burn a pile of debris that's too tall, which can start a wildfire. Wait, could it be? Blimey, it is.
It's Smokey.
It's Smokey Bear. What a legend.
Hey, it's Smokey. Sorry, it was too high. Right.
Watch as he astutely ensures that there's no wind, and how he removes some of the debris to create a smaller, safer burning pile.
No, you said make it bigger, baby. The bigger the better.
Take note of our fearless furry friend here, humans.
I appreciate it. Fist bump.
Watching you.
Smokey's done it again.
Bye, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Paul Pelosi, husband of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, is recovering from an attack at their home on Friday. Pelosi was attacked with a hammer around 2 a.m. at their San Francisco home, where the attacker fractured his skull. The suspect, Dave DePape, was arrested around 2:30 a.m. after police arrived to the scene. Now DePape is being held in jail without bail. Police are still investigating the cause for DePape's actions. Officials say DePape may have had the intention to kill Paul Pelosi, but are unsure of who his targets were.
This is a person who was willing to go to extreme lengths to plan out this attack, to figure out how to get in their house, and then to enact violence even in the presence of the police.
Jenkins has filed 6 charges against DePape, which include attempted murder, burglary, and assault with a deadly weapon. DePape pleaded not guilty in a courtroom in California this past Tuesday. If convicted, though, he could face life in prison. A source told CBS News that Pelosi was discharged and returned home this afternoon after spending 6 days in the hospital.
Parkland school shooter Nikolas Cruz will spend the rest of his life in prison without a chance at parole for killing 17 people at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in 2018. Cruz avoided the death penalty after some jurors voted to spare his life. Up until 2016, Florida law allowed judges to give the death sentence if a majority of jurors agreed. But in Cruz's trial, only 9 of 13 jurors said Cruz should be executed. The convicted murderer will spend the rest of his life without a chance of parole. And for many family members of victims, life in jail is not enough.
But what we've been told here is that 17 lives are worth nothing if you can make enough excuses for your actions. He has gotten everything he's wanted in this case, and we are left with nothing and a slap in the face to top it off.
Last week, Governor Ron DeSantis criticized the sentence and said the system needs to be reformed. But DeSantis did not specify what changes he would support.
And the music world is mourning the death of rapper Takeoff. He was killed on Tuesday by a stray bullet during a shooting at a bowling and pool hall in Houston. The Harris County Medical Examiner's Office reported his death as a homicide, with gunshot wounds to the head, torso, and arm. Police confirmed 2 other victims were taken to the hospitals, but they're both expected to be okay. Leaked text from an anonymous source at the scene described Takeoff minding his own business at the event before being caught in the crossfire over a dice game.
It doesn't matter how famous you are. You may not be famous at all. Anybody who loses his or her life is a life loss. And there are family members and friends who are grieving as a result.
Takeoff was part of the platinum-selling rap group Migos. The Atlanta group formed in 2008 and released 4 major studio albums. And Takeoff was just 28 years old.
The University of Florida's Board of Trustees has voted to approve a new president, but students are not pleased. Ben Sasse, a senator from Nebraska since 2015, has been chosen to serve as the next president of the University of Florida. But many UF students showed their opposition to the decision through several protests on campus, including right outside the senator's interview. Many students do not support his political viewpoints and chanted about his anti-gay and misogynistic beliefs. Sasse has requested his political past be kept separate from his future as the leader of the university.
And now let's bring things back to Miami on campus. It's time to take a look at our weather.
Yes, we are joined by our weathercaster, Quinn Davidson. Quinn, what's the weather for homecoming weekend?
Well, as you probably have noticed, it's been quite hot and steamy out there the past few days. In fact, yesterday we did break a record high temperature of 90 degrees. The previous record was 89 degrees back in 1997, so definitely sweaty and steamy out there. Looking at this futurecast, we do have a weak frontal boundary situated over our region that is allowing for an influx of some showers to approach our area. However, this does seem to be a very slight chance, and it does seem to be more in the interior portions of South Florida. However, as this front does push out of our region, we do have some drier air masses flowing into our region, and accompanied with that, we do have breezy conditions. Our future wind gusts are being quite high values, pushing into the 20s. We do have tomorrow forecast around 5 p.m., 24 miles per hour here in Miami and 25 in Fort Lauderdale. And this trend continues throughout the weekend, even values approaching 30 in some places by Sunday. And this is due to a low pressure system that is forming off the coast. It is not quite sure exactly where this low will end up. However, we are keeping an eye on it because we do know for a fact associated with this low we will have breezy conditions, increased chance of rainfall, but more seasonable temperatures for this time of year. And for those Canes heading out to the football game this weekend, we are looking at a pretty pleasant forecast, 84 degrees for that tailgate, sun and clouds conditions for that game. Looking to have a slight chance of some showers. However, we do have temperatures in the low 80s and upper 70s. So very pleasant and absolutely wonderful for the game against FSU. Tonight's forecast, 71 degrees, mostly clear, becoming breezy. However, we do have tomorrow 84, breezy but sunny in our 7-day forecast, looking quite pleasant for this time of year. Temperatures in the mid 80s, looking at that low at the beginning half of next week. That is all the time for weather. Sending it back to you.
Thank you, Quinn. The weather has been great this week for students to enjoy the various homecoming activities. Charlie Hill spent the week checking out various activities and joins us now live outside the Watsco Center, where the doors have already opened for the Flo Rida concert. Charlie, is everyone excited for the concert?
Yeah, Regina, fans are super excited because tonight, Flo Rida's in our house. The event's going to kick off soon in a couple minutes around 7:30 p.m. The student opener is singer and songwriter Carlo Rettel. Rettel is a junior at UM and part of the Frost School of Music. Now, this event is highly anticipated over the course of the semester, but it's only one of the many homecoming events this week.
Homecoming Week welcomes alumni, parents, fans, and friends back to campus to celebrate all that it means to be a Miami Hurricane. This year's theme, Game On. This week kicked off with Cane Spirit Day on Lakeside Patio, where students were able to grab food in between classes just in time for lunch. The festivities continue to the next day at the Spirit Tree at Ash building. Each organization that participated decorated and hung an ornament on the tree, and judges selected the best one. Later that night was the Homecoming Royalty Pageant, which was expanded this year to include all gender identities. 12 contestants competed, but the night ended with the first all-black homecoming court in university history. Taking home first place, Tatiana Robinson.
Words can't explain how happy I am right now. I'm so glad that I got to represent United Black Students and to just show that Black students are here on this campus.
Next day's events involved each organization hosting their own community service projects. And although students had fun with all the on-campus activities, there's still one more thing they're looking forward to.
I mean, I think the main event is the football game. Like, win or lose, I'm there, I'm bleeding green and orange, and I'm ready to have a good time.
But before that was the O-Cheer event, where talented students formed groups within their organization and showed their cane spirit through a skit, still staying true to this year's homecoming theme. After an electrifying performance, United Black students won over the judges for first place. The homecoming festivities aren't over yet. There's still the fireworks show and watching the Canes take on FSU at Hard Rock Stadium.
Homecoming week wraps up tomorrow with the block party, awards ceremony, and traditional boat burning and fireworks at Lake Osceola. And then on Saturday at 7:30 p.m., the rivalry football game against FSU. Reporting live for UMTV, I'm Charlie Hill. Go Canes!
Thank you, Charlie. And when NewsVision returns, I'll take a look into all things sports. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
Okay, Simon, what do people wear?
Clothes.
That's right, so it's important to learn how to dress yourself. Here's how it's done. Shirt, underwear, pants, socks, shoes. Underwear, always first, name tag on the back. Then pants and shirt. Go ahead and put this on. Now with the shirt, you want to make sure the first button's right or you have to start all over again, okay? Socks left on left, right on right. Tying the shoes, we're gonna take the laces, we're gonna cross them over, we're gonna turn around where the bunny goes down in the hole, pull it tight, and bunny ears. Got it?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain.
Welcome to sports. I'm Andrew Klein. The Hurricanes went on the road to take on Virginia this past week with Jake Garcia at the helm. Let's take a look at the highlights. First half, Andres Borregales puts Miami on the board. It's a 38-yard field goal, one of his 4 on the day. Now later on in the fourth quarter, Garcia scanning the field, fires over the middle of the pass, is caught. Brashard Smith, the reception, 2 receptions for 16 for Smith. Now later on, Miami a chance to force overtime. Andres Borregales is on. Headley gets the hold down, Borregales buries it, and Miami will send this game to overtime, tied at 6. Now in overtime, the 4th one, Jake Garcia rolling right to the end zone. Got it. Huge 2-point conversion gives Miami a 14-12 advantage, and they would win this game by that score. Miami 4-4 on the year. And the basketball season is just around the corner, and expectations are high in Coral Gables after the team's first ever Elite 8 appearance. The squad took on Indiana University of Pennsylvania in an exhibition game last Sunday. Jordan Miller and Isaiah Wong each put up 19 points to lead the team, and all 5 starters were in double figures. Head coach Jim Larinaga also got some strong contributions off the bench.
Our 9-man rotation and 8. We have really what I would call 7 starters, because Bensley Joseph and Anthony Walker are also guys that are going to play a ton of minutes and are very good players. So those 7 guys, and then we'll figure out if there's going to be a guy in an 8-man rotation or 9-man rotation.
The Hurricanes could have a logjam at the point guard spot this season with Joseph and new transfer Nigel Pack. And it was Wooga Poplar who stole the show for the Canes on Sunday, pouring in 15 points on efficient shooting to start his sophomore campaign. And finally, some breaking news out of the NFL as Washington Commanders owner Dan Snyder has begun exploring his options to sell the team. This announcement comes just a few weeks after Snyder claimed he had dirt on multiple NFL owners that he would expose if they tried to force him to sell the team. This all stems from an offseason report that exposed Washington's toxic workplace and included allegations of sexual harassment against Snyder himself. Snyder has denied these claims, calling the allegations outright lies. There is no telling when the sale could take place, and the NFL owners still have the ability to vote Snyder out. They need a 24-vote majority to do so. That's all the time we have for sports today. I'm Andrew Klein.
Andrew, thank you. And coming up, we'll take you to one unusual location to carve pumpkins. We'll have more on that when we return, so don't go anywhere.
Meet the scan, a simple procedure whose mission is to detect lung cancer early.
I'm here to save you.
But I feel fine.
That's great, but you may still be at high risk for lung cancer.
Oh man, that's a new fence.
If you smoke, early detection could save your life. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Honey, what I think you need is a socket wrench.
I played JV basketball.
I'm sorry. I don't think it looks right.
This is good, and it's all good, baby.
Is it really all good?
If you love me enough to routinely test your handyman skills, not to mention the strength of your marriage, then of course you'll visit nhtsa.gov/therightseat to make sure I'm in the right car seat.
I'm gonna call my dad.
The way the world is now, people are turning on their Zen mode for the sake of their mental health. Reporter Sophia Vitello takes us to one place where you can find peace.
On the weekends, residents in Orlando flock to Oak-Aged Farm, looking to stretch their limbs among the birds and bees. The peaceful practice of yoga helps people become one with nature. The owners moved on the farm just a few years ago. They live in a log cabin right on the property, making them neighbors to goats and chickens.
Everyone always thinks it's a lot of work, which it is, but I mean, it's really rewarding. It's a good time.
When the pandemic took the world by storm, families found refuge in the farm.
During COVID, we had a lot of families come out that wanted to experience nature, get outside, reconnect.
So the owners decided to host yoga sessions on the farmland. The Zen-inducing sessions are led by a licensed yoga instructor and last around an hour.
We're gonna place our right hand in front of our face.
Whether you're an amateur looking to try something new or a dedicated yogi, everyone is welcome.
It is my first time around goats and also doing yoga.
But this isn't just any regular type of yoga. This is goat yoga. Here on my back is Cookie. She's a year old.
Happy. Loved.
These words were used to describe how the goats made 10-year-old Sophia DeMarco feel. Oak-Aged Farm allows participants to do yoga alongside the animals.
Surrounded with the goats, with environments, having fun with them, you know, having them around you, it's amazing.
The goats seem to think it's pretty amazing too, laying on mats and playing with humans. But they also eat ears. And did I mention they love being on camera? This one even climbed onto my chest to make sure he was in the shot.
It's been really fun. It's always interesting to see all the different people who want to come out and just kind of seeing how they do the yoga flow with interacting with the goats and just having fun with it.
But when a goat jumps on your back, it can be quite a surprise.
I was not expecting it, so I said, what's going on me? I mean, and then when I look and I saw it, and I said, oh, it is a goat. So, but after that, I felt like, okay, she's hanging out in there, so.
But maybe even more special than having a farm animal jump on you is connecting with the goats who need healing too, like 3-month-old Nigel.
He was born blind, so we just gave him some goggles for light sensitivity.
It's safe to say that people leave with more than just memories, but also a happy heart, all thanks to the goats.
We're really grateful to be able to provide that for people, just like a little oasis that you can come and spend an hour with some animals and outside.
For UMTV, I'm Sophia Vitello.
And finally, there are pumpkin carving contests, and then there are underwater pumpkin carving contests. Last Saturday, the annual Underwater Pumpkin Carving Contest took place in the Florida Keys. The contest featured 18 scuba divers who carved their pumpkins 25 feet below the surface. Also curious, fish swam around the divers, feasting on the pumpkin bits, but the best part was the winners got a free dive trip for 2 at the contest sponsor's dive resort. How about that, Regina?
Sounds like such a fun way to spend Halloween.
Oh yeah, it sounds like a blast, but that's all the time we have for NewsVision tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Join us here next week at the same time, but until then, have a great night and stay safe.